Hello, beautiful beings. Welcome to Soul Shift Messages. If you found your way here, trust there's something in this message for you. Understand this space is about growth, truth, and transformation. We don't bypass here, we don't sugarcoat, and not every message will feel comfortable, but it will be honest. I speak in flow, and that sometimes includes cussing. It's just part of how the messages come through. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and trust your own discernment above all else. Take a deep breath, and let's begin. If you're new here, please know at this time that I make weekly content in 3 parts. Part 1 focuses on what needs to be revealed. Part 2 focuses on what needs to be understood. It's often a deep dive on part 1. And part 3 focuses on what needs to be done. What changes do we need to make in order to embody whatever we happen to be discussing for that week? So depending on when you see this video, you will find links to all available content in the description box below. If that content for any reason hasn't been created yet, you'll see a date of when to expect it. But do know I am pretty diligent about going back and updating the links as the new content and eventually the whole series is available. So, all right, all that to say, this is part 2 for this series, and I am calling this the real reason you don't fully embody your sexuality. Before I go ahead and get into this message, I am going to start with some disclaimers. If you've heard part 1, these should be a reminder, but I am going to add these to all the videos for this series. So this is a gender-neutral, orientation-inclusive series. It is intended for adult audiences only. All who are ages 18 plus are welcome. If you are under the age of 18, please leave. And I say that with love, but please leave. These messages will be delivered with the assumption all acts are consensual, you are safe, and all boundaries are honored. You deserve nothing less. If anything resonates in these messages, there is no need to feel fear, shame, or judgment. Once we recognize we have patterns in our energy we don't want to keep, we become empowered to replace them with something healthier and more enjoyable. Before I actually jump into this message, they want me to add another, I don't want to say it's a disclaimer, I want to say it's a reminder. And when I say sexuality, I just want to be clear. It's more than just sex. It's easy to jump to sex when you think about sexuality, but they just want me to remind the audience that embodying sexuality is beyond sex. It can be dancing. It can be wearing an outfit that makes you feel really good. For some of you, it can be showing off, showing off what you got, and why not, right? Life is short, I'm here in bodycon, so if you have a bodycon dress, like that can be a way you embody your sexuality. It can also be flirting. I'm hearing kissing. So just wanted to, again, just expand that sexuality is more than just sex. So, all right, let me go ahead and dive into this message. So the introduction, what needs to be understood isn't just that you control instead of feel. That's true, but it's only the surface. What's actually happening is you have a highly refined internal system that is always active. It protects you, keeps you aligned, maintains your sense of self, makes sure nothing goes too far or becomes unclear, and constantly checks that everything is okay. Because of that, you don't disconnect. This system is the reason you only partially embody your sexuality. You partially connect to the experience, but don't stay long enough or deeply enough for the experience to fully unfold and complete. You don't just interrupt experience, you never fully stop managing it in the first place. The deeper layer, you don't fully trust where experience leads. At the core, there's a quiet, ongoing question. Where is this going? Is this actually safe? Is this real, or am I missing something? So instead of fully dropping in, part of you stays slightly outside the experience to monitor, evaluate, and stay safe. This isn't obvious fear. It's subtle mistrust of what might happen if you stop tracking things. You don't just experience, you guide the experience. There's a strong inner role in you that acts like a guide. It interprets what's happening, keeps things on track, adjusts in real time, and maintains emotional balance. This is useful in life, but in embodiment, it becomes a constant overseer that never steps back. So even when you're in the experience, there's still guiding, adjusting, and refining, which keeps things structured instead of fully natural, meaning you don't let things organically grow and unfold. You don't let it flow. This is also about identity, not just sensation. There's a limit not only on what you feel, but on who you allow yourself to be while feeling it. At a certain point, a boundary appears. Is this still me? Is this too much? Am I going outside how I normally am? So the interruption is also about staying within a version of yourself that feels familiar and acceptable. Full embodiment would mean being less filtered, more raw, and more unpredictable. Part of you resists that because it feels unfamiliar. You don't just monitor intensity, you monitor meaning. You're not only feeling what's happening, you're also asking, what does this mean? Is this aligned? Is this real? Is this going somewhere worthwhile? So instead of just experiencing, you're moving from experience to interpretation to conclusion. And this happens very quickly, often without you even consciously realizing it. They're saying it's like blinking. You don't even notice when you blink your eyes. This is the same thing. You move from experience to immediate interpretation to a conclusion before you even realize you've done it. This pulls you out of direct sensation. Even if you are still physically in it, you have mentally pulled yourself out of it. The interruption happens earlier than you think. You don't pull back at peak intensity. You pull back when things start to deepen. The pattern is you open, sensation increases, a small internal check activates. You subtly adjust. The experience continues, but is limited. You rarely reach the depth where surrender would stabilize. The real trigger, unpredictability, not intensity. It's not just intensity. It's when things become less predictable, less structured, and less clear. When you don't know what's coming next, your system steps in. So your reaction is, I don't fully know what this is becoming. And again, that's the trigger where your system steps in. And again, they're saying this happens so quick and you make that adjustment and you don't even realize it. A lot of this is happening automatically. There's a background expectation of effort. There's a belief that depth requires effort, awareness, and doing it right. So even in ease, there's thoughts of, am I doing this right? Is this enough? This replaces natural flow with effort. They're just saying a lot of people just overthink this. This is really about the goal is to get out of your head and stay in your body. And even if you slip out into your head, to jump back into your body. I think that's where part 3 is going to focus its attention. All right, let me refocus. You can access experience, but you don't fully trust it. You can feel pleasure, openness, and connection. But even when things are working, there's a thought of, let me just make sure. So you stay slightly outside of it. You stay slightly outside of completion. Again, you don't avoid experience, but you also don't stay through it fully. You engage, you feel, you approach depth, you adjust. The result is partial experiences instead of full ones. Again, even if your body physically completes, mentally, that's a partial experience. Full embodiment means stay in your body. Completion itself feels slightly unstable. Even when fulfillment is there, you may question it and pull back so it doesn't fully land. The real function of control. Your control is not suppression. It's constant regulation, tracking, adjusting, and balancing, but it never turns off. You stay in charge instead of letting the experience lead. The deeper fear is if I stop monitoring, something might happen I didn't catch. So vigilance stays active. Some of you may resonate with being hypervigilant. This would pertain to that. This is a symptom of your hypervigilance. Awareness sits outside the experience. Right now, one part of you feels and one part watches. That watcher, that aspect, tracks, evaluates, and stays slightly ahead. You trust responding more than initiating. Instead of moving from feeling to acting, you move from feeling to checking to acting. That pause interrupts flow. That pause interrupts full embodiment. You regulate upward movement. You don't struggle with calming down. You struggle with letting things build. So as intensity rises, you level it. And again, you may not consciously realize that you're doing this, but it doesn't mean that it's not occurring. I'm hearing you will feel this in your core. I'm hearing specifically in your chest. If you're feeling tightening in your chest or near your stomach area, I heard groin. I'll honor that. Not my phrase, but you will feel that tension, that tension. They said that's your indicator if you're doing that. There's a ceiling you rarely cross. Your system has a limit. This is enough. When you approach it, not cross it, when you approach it, you subtly regulate. That's why you rarely cross it. As soon as you get close, you pull back. You prefer clear, understandable experiences. You're comfortable when things are clear and defined, but real experience is often messy and unclear. So you move to make sense of it, which pulls you out of it. Meaning making happens very fast. Almost instantly, you move from feeling to explanation. So there's little time for raw experience. You pace vulnerability. You allow vulnerability, but in controlled amounts, which means you have controlled openness instead of full openness. A lot of this has to do with feeling safe in the moment and teaching your system that you actually are safe. The pattern is maintained through tiny actions. This can be small tension, quick thoughts, or tiny adjustments. Each one is small, but they're constant. The misunderstanding. Surrender does not mean losing yourself. You assume letting go means losing control, but actually awareness would just move inside the experience if you surrendered. And again, I want to remind you, all messages are delivered with the assumption that all acts are consensual, you are safe, and all boundaries are honored. Your system is optimized for accuracy, not immersion. It's built to be precise and stay aware. But embodiment requires not checking and not measuring. When you're trying to fully embody your sexuality and be in the experience, you need immersion, not accuracy. You identify with the part that interrupts. The monitoring part feels like you. So letting go feels like I'm not being myself. You're just so used to that system running automatically that you don't actually realize that's not actually who you are. The issue isn't access, it's continuity. You can open, but you don't stay long enough. You don't let the experience prove itself. You start the experience, evaluate, and adjust. But again, you don't let it run long enough to show it's safe and it can deepen naturally. Your system literally panics and yanks you out of it. It makes you adjust. I'm hearing if you are able to delay that automatic response of yanking yourself out of it, your body will regulate it. Again, assuming all my assumptions are accurate, right? If you ever don't feel safe in an experience, ruin the moment. Ruin the moment. Don't even hesitate. But your body would regulate through it. That is what I'm hearing. Part 3 is going to be significant. I can feel that. Since you don't allow it to run long enough, the system becomes self-reinforcing because it believes it kept you safe and the interruption was warranted, even though that belief was not based on reality. The system is always on. This is its default state. Monitoring is not reaction. It's always active. You enter experience already aware and ready to adjust. You never fully drop into an experience without it. Control happens in advance. You don't just adjust after things happen. You shape them early and prevent certain depth. Your system is predictive. You're always looking ahead and managing what might happen. You're not just in the moment. You're managing its future. Again, it's not flowing. You are actively shaping it. You prefer orientation over immersion. You want to feel clear and grounded, but deep experience includes not knowing. So when clarity fades, you restore it and leave immersion. Letting go happens in controlled doses. You do let go, but gradually and partially. There's always control in reserve. They're saying again, the system is always on. It does not shut off. Let me grab some water. You always keep a way back. Part of you tracks, how do I regain control so you never fully leave control? You're aware of your awareness. And they're saying on some level, this is true. For some of you, this series is actually bringing that to you. I'm just giving you words for something that's interesting. I'm giving you words for things you did not have words for. Alrighty. I'm going to take that as a compliment. So you're not just experiencing so you're not just experiencing, you are aware of your awareness. Being aware that you are aware during experience adds distance, which makes it even harder to get back to full embodiment. Sensation is filtered early. Before sensation fully forms, it's already slightly adjusted and slightly controlled. You stabilize instead of expand. When things feel good, you keep them steady instead of letting them grow and intensify. I'm hearing let it spread through you. It's that intensity. Your body actually handles that intensity better and healthier if you don't try to contain it that way. Like let it flow through your body. Like let that fill you up. That's interesting. Yeah, they're just saying let it move through you. They're showing me like waves of energy moving through the body. Energy is meant to flow. It's not meant to be contained in one area. Like that's how you get stuck in stagnant energy. Let that flow through you. But you also need to be able to let go enough to let it move and let it flow. Okay. You're trained not to be taken over. You've learned to stay in control no matter what, so you avoid being fully moved by experience. That's again letting that energy actually flow through you. Energy flows best when you surrender to it. The more you try to control it, the more you contain it. Okay. You limit how much experience affects you. You allow it, but don't let it fully impact you or fully move you. Again, some of you are trying to control something that was meant to flow. Full embodiment means staying in the body. And I'm also hearing letting the body do what the body actually knows to do. Some of you really need to let your body lead. You close experience early. Natural flow is build, peak, and release. Your pattern is to actually close before full peak. So even if you physically release, energetically, you have not. I'm hearing some of you can actually feel that difference. Some of you can actually feel the difference with that. Help me get that into words. So obviously you can feel the physical release, but for some of you, Some of you can feel that that pleasure doesn't come through fully. You can feel the difference between your body having that release, but some of you are actually picking up that energetically you don't get that full release. They're not elaborating on that, but some of you experiences might be starting to feel more hollow. It's because of that. You've got this, it's that energetic split because your body has that release, but energetically, that energy did not move. So that's specific for someone. That probably isn't for everyone. Anything else you want to add about that? No. Okay. The more real it feels, the more you regulate. When something feels very real or deep, that control increases. And I'm hearing that's automatic. This actually explains some of the topics I downloaded for other series to create. But yeah, when something feels very real or deep, control increases. The deepest layer, lack of lived proof. You don't fully trust experience because you haven't experienced it without interruption long enough. So your system has learned this is safe on its own. They're reminding me again of what I said in part 1. The goal of this series by part 3 is to go through how to interrupt the interruption so that you can stay in the experience long enough without interruption to have that regulation kick in, your body's regulation, not your mind. Okay. The full truth, you're not blocked or broken. You don't fully embody your sexuality and experience because you are constantly monitoring, shaping, evaluating, and validating it from the very beginning. You haven't yet let it continue long enough without interference to discover what happens when you don't. And I'm hearing clear as day, part 3 is going to be focusing on that specific aspect. Again, they're saying this isn't a physical problem. It is a mental system that is constantly running. And I'm hearing the more you interrupt it and the more consistently you interrupt it, the more you can weaken it. They want to be very clear. And they want me to reiterate, when you realize you have systems or programs running in your energy, you can just deprogram them. You are more than capable of getting that shit out. So this really isn't about fear. Again, it's not about shame or judgment if you do this. We're all really walking each other home. I'm just providing the awareness, the understanding, and the framework that you can use to essentially, basically take this system down and put something healthier in place. That's really all this is. So, again, I'm hearing this doesn't imply there's anything physically wrong, that there's anything, like this isn't even about fixing sexuality. This is really about tackling that system. So, I don't know why they have me going over that, but I feel like someone probably needs to hear that. Anything else? No. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna leave it there. That message feels complete. And we're definitely consistently getting some sneak peeks for part 3. So if this resonates with you, I will be back later this week to deliver part 3 of the series, and that will be the last video. So stay tuned for that. And until next time, take care of yourselves, beautiful beings. Bye.